Okay, so let's get right into it. We're going to break down this really fascinating paper on something called ChatDev. And trust me, this is a concept that could completely flip the script on how we think about building software. It's not just a new tool, it's more like a whole virtual company run by AI.
So here's the big idea, the question that kicks this whole thing off. What if? What if you could get a team of AIs, each with their own specialty, to build an entire app from scratch just by talking to each other? Not by following rigid instructions, but just by having a conversation.
Now, to really get why that's such a game changer, we got to look at how things are usually done. And let's be honest, the old way of building software, it's kind of broken.
You know, building software isn't simple. It's this huge, complex puzzle. You need designers, you need coders, you need testers, all these different experts. And what happens a lot of the time is that the whole process gets choppy, you know? It feels disconnected and things just slow down.
It's like a game of telephone, right? The designers have this amazing idea. They pass it to the coders. The coders build what they think the designers meant. Then they pass that to the testers. By the end, the original vision gets all muddled. The paper calls these technical inconsistencies, but really, it's just stuff getting lost in translation. And those little miscommunications, that's where everything grinds to a halt.
So what's the fix for this broken game of telephone? Well, this is where ChatDev comes in, and the idea is just genius. Instead of building another tool to manage the process, they built a whole new team. Imagine an entire software company, but all the employees are AI.
And that's really the heart of it. ChatDev is basically a framework that lets these specialized AI agents team up. But the magic ingredient, the thing that makes it all work, isn't some super complex algorithm. It's just chat. Yep, they talk it out, just like we would. So let's meet the team, shall we? You've got your CEO, who's like the big picture thinker, laying out the master plan. Then you've got the programmer, who's in the trenches, writing the actual code. And of course, the tester, whose job is to find all the little bugs and problems. Each one has a specific job, but they're all working together.
Okay, this is where it gets really, really cool. It's not just about the fact that AIs are doing these jobs. The truly mind-blowing part is how they pull it off. And it all boils down to one thing: language. See, these AIs aren't just robots taking orders. You're having actual conversations. The paper has a fancy term for it: multi-turn dialogues. But think of it like this. The programmer AI writes some code and says, "Hey, what do you think of this?" The tester AI runs it, finds a problem, and says, "Actually, this part is broken because of X, Y, and Z." They go back and forth, refining and fixing until they get it right. It's exactly how a human team would work.
But wait, how do you stop a bunch of AIs from just chatting endlessly and going off the rails? Well, they've got a system for that. On one hand, you have the what to talk about. They call it a chat chain. It's basically the project roadmap, keeping everyone focused on the task at hand. And on the other hand, you have the how, a set of rules for communication. This is like the meeting etiquette, making sure the conversation is productive and clear. It keeps everything on track.
And what's fascinating is that while watching this whole system work, the researchers stumbled upon something really important. It turns out the AI team is smart enough to know that you don't always talk the same way. They figured out how to use the right language for the right job.
So, when they're in the early design phase, brainstorming the big ideas, they talk in plain English. It makes sense, right? It's creative, it's flexible, it's perfect for sketching out the grand vision. But as soon as they need to get into the weeds and fix a bug, they switch gears. They start talking directly in code. Why? Because it's super precise. There's no room for misinterpretation. It's the most efficient way to pinpoint a problem and solve it. And that's the absolute key takeaway here. This AI team is smart. It's not just blindly following a script. It's adapting its communication style on the fly. It knows when to use human-like creativity and when to use machine-like precision. That's what makes it so incredibly effective. Okay, so let's pull back for a second and think about what this really means. This is so much bigger than just finding a new way to write code. This is a sneak peek into a totally new way for AIs to work together. There's this amazing line in the paper that just nails it. They say language becomes a unifying bridge. What does that mean? It means that conversation, language itself, is the glue that lets all these different smart AIs come together and solve really hard problems, all on their own. So here's what you really need to remember. Forget about just code for a second. What we're looking at is a blueprint for AI teamwork. Think about it. What if you had a team of AI doctors diagnosing a rare disease by talking through the symptoms? Or AI architects designing a sustainable city?
This idea of AIs collaborating through conversation, it could be used almost anywhere.
And that leaves us with a huge question to chew on. We've just seen AIs team up to build an app. So what's the next big, complex job they're going to learn how to do just by having a conversation?